Wow. I just watched the premiere of WandaVision on Disney Plus, the first two episodes, and just wow. Like, every time Paul Bettany describes this show, when he says that WandaVision is absolutely bonkers, he's right, because this show is absolutely bonkers. Like, this show is, like, we knew it was going to be crazy, but this is just insane. It's so good. It's so different, but so good. It's different in a good way, and I love that. And there's a lot to talk about here because, like I said, we have the first two episodes of WandaVision. Both of them were amazing. But before I get into talking about the actual episodes themselves, I do want to talk about a couple little things in here that really made it feel like a sitcom from the 50s and the 60s. And also, by the way, we did get a new intro for the Marvel Studios logo, how it has like the music and everything. Yeah, now they added in some of the stuff from the newer movies, like the Iron Man snap from Endgame, some Captain Marvel stuff. So that's awesome to see the updated intro there. But then when we actually get into the episodes, we see that we have theme songs for both these episodes, and it's going to be different every week with every episode. So the first one, we had a nice theme song going on. We had a nice intro and everything. The second one was like, it was an animated one, so that was cool as well. So that's cool that not only are they changing decades, but then they're also doing these theme songs, and it's different every week to suit that decade. So that's really awesome to see. And speaking of the decades and sitcoms and TV in these decades, commercials. So we actually got commercials in these episodes, and they're not like actual commercials. They were made for the show, but it was just like one commercial in the middle of each episode. And, you know, it was a little distracting because it kind of took you out of the moment, but at the same time, it was really a really cool moment because, like, in the first episode, we had a commercial for a toaster from Stark Industries. So that was hilarious to see. Although there was something weird about it because the episode was all in black and white, and there was a red light blinking in that scene for the commercial, so just something to note there because you got to pay attention to the small details here with WandaVision. And then I loved the commercial in the second episode, how it was a watch called Strucker, and it was from Hydra because Baron Strucker was the leader of Hydra back in Avengers Age of Ultron. He was the one that experimented on Wanda, so those are some awesome Easter eggs that we saw there. With all that stuff going on there. But now, guys, it's time to get into it because WandaVision, like I said, we got two episodes. This first episode was, I think it was based off the Dick Van Dyke Show. So just like every episode is based off a different decade, it's also based off a different TV show and different sitcom from that decade. So the first one was the Dick Van Dyke Show. It was a great episode, and I find it interesting how we kind of just started off in this sitcom world. Like, there was no explanation at all. Like, going into this, I figured, like, oh, we would start off present day 2023 or 2024, wherever we're at in the MCU. It'd be Wanda. There'd be, like, maybe some kind of explosion or something, and then all of a sudden she'd be in the sitcom world. But no, they just jumped straight into it, didn't explain anything. So if you're going into this not knowing what the MCU is and not knowing anything about this, you would just think it's a sitcom. But, you know, I'm pretty sure everybody does. So it was a really interesting, unique way of doing it that I found, you know, pretty cool. And it keeps the mystery alive because it adds another layer of that mystery here. And with this episode, we saw Vision Vision and Wanda, they had dinner with Vision's boss, Mr. Hart, and his wife, Mrs. Hart, and that was a cameo by Deborah Jo Rupp, sitcom legend right there, so that was awesome to see. And, you know, of course, as every sitcom goes, things do not go as planned, and I'm not going to get too much into detail. You know, you saw it yourself, I mean, you know, spoilers, so yeah. But then all of a sudden, Mr. Hart starts choking on a chocolate strawberry, which, I mean, if I'm going to choke on something, a chocolate strawberry would be something really good to do that for, honestly. But then Vision saves him, he pulls it out, and then they just seem so unfazed by it. And as he's choking there, Mrs. Hart is over there going like, stop it, like she doesn't seem concerned about her husband at all. Like, your husband's might die. Like, she doesn't care. And then they're like, all right, time to be going. Look at the time. Like, gee willikers. Like, that's kind of funky. just as everything in this world is. Things are weird, and then they just leave, and that's pretty much it. And then we get our happy ending for the sitcom here. But then we see at the very end of the episode, they zoom out. You can see that it is an episode of a sitcom on a TV screen, and a SWORD agent has been watching it. So somehow SWORD has actually been seeing what's going on in there, and I have no idea how that's going on. But we see some more SWORD set up in the second episode as well, which was based on Bewitched. And like I said, we got that cool animated intro. And this second episode, while it is mostly just another sitcom episode, this is where things really get crazy, because throughout the whole episode we keep hearing that like something goes bump in the night, and at first it's like, oh, it's just a branch on the window, but then we see more of that later on. And as Vision goes out to hang out with the boys, go to a town meeting, Wanda, she decides to hang out with Agnes again, and when she walks outside, she sees this little toy helicopter in the bushes, and this is something we saw in the most recent trailer. But the helicopter is red. It's in color, unlike everything else, how everything else is black and white. And this helicopter has the SWORD logo on it. And in the first trailer for WandaVision, we saw a real helicopter in the real world with the SWORD logo on it. And lots of people have been speculating that maybe that helicopter gets sucked into the sitcom world and then it gets turned into a toy helicopter. So that's definitely something to note there, that things are starting to change. And we see that later with Dottie when she cuts her hand and the blood is actually red. But speaking of Dottie, Agnes fills us in on Dottie. So Dottie is kind of like the leader of the town. Like, if you're really close friends with her and she likes you, then you're in for everything. You're good with everything. And it's very obvious that they want to emphasize that Dottie is like the ruler here. She is in control of everything. And this makes me start thinking that maybe this is Mephisto, because so many people, including myself going into this, are speculating that Mephisto is the big bad here because he was the big villain involved in this storyline in the comics and with the birth of Wanda's children and everything. So it just makes sense. And then also the fact that in that same scene where we were introduced to Dottie, that Agnes mentioned something about the devil. There was some sort of devil reference there, and of course Mephisto is the devil. So I think that this is clearly setting up that Mephisto is the one that is controlling Wanda. He's the one that set her up in this world, and it's just crazy awesome. And then we get that radio thing that we saw in the trailer as well, where some sort of SWORD agent is talking to her, and they're like, Wanda, who's doing this to you and everything. And I think it might be Jimmy Woo's voice there. I'm not completely sure, but it is clearly someone from SWORD. And like I said, they say, who is doing this to you? And it's got to be Dottie, because that when we see that radio saying that stuff, Dottie and Wanda are the two in that scene, and Dottie seems really freaked out by that, and that's when she squeezes her glass and breaks it. So she's got to be freaked out by something there, maybe because that's Mephisto in disguise, and he sees that his plan is starting to come apart because somebody is trying to interfere, and nobody likes when you interfere with their plan. But then at the end of the episode, like, I thought things were already crazy, but then things get even crazier at the end of the episode, where we get kind of a cliffhanger, where, of course, we get a happy ending, as we do in every sitcom, just like with the first episode. But then all of a sudden, Wanda, her stomach starts to get bigger, and no, she hasn't just put on weight. No, she's pregnant. Like, a baby just grew in her body instantaneously. Like, that's not something you see every day, but it's definitely something cool when you do see it. So this is something we knew was going to happen. We know we're going to be getting the introduction to Billy and Tommy in this series, so that they'll eventually go on to become Wiccan and Speed and join the Young Avengers and all that stuff. But then Wanda and Vision, they hear that noise again, and they go outside, and that is when they see a manhole cover in the middle of the street. It starts opening up, and this beekeeper comes out of the sewer with a whole bunch of bees flying around him. This is something we saw in the Disney Investor Day trailer, and we were all confused by, like, who is this beekeeper? But we see that there's a SWORD logo on the back of this beekeeper's suit. So he's clearly some sword agent. Maybe this sword agent has found a way to get into the sitcom world, and they're trying to calm down Wanda and make her stop doing this. But then before anything happens here, Wanda and Vision are just super confused, but Wanda just says no, and then everything reverses back to when her pregnancy was revealed. And everything changes to color, setting up for next week's episode, where we'll be in the 70s, and it will be the Brady Bunch type episode. So, like, what a way to end an episode. First of all, she's pregnant, then you got the sword stuff there, and then how she just says no, and then everything reverses. And this is what gets confusing to me, because you can tell that Wanda and Vision, they're having a great time together, living this perfect life, and Wanda doesn't want to give that up. So when she says no, you kind of get the feeling that she knows that Sword is trying to shut this down and trying to stop this stuff, and Wanda doesn't want that. She wants to keep living this perfect life. So maybe Mephisto is the one that set this up, but maybe Wanda already figured that out, and she doesn't care. She just wants to keep on living with Vision and live happily ever after. And that's why, hopefully, eventually, we will probably see by the end of the series, Wanda go mad. Then in Doctor Strange 2, she'll become the big bad and the villain. So it's going to be crazy, and this was just absolutely insane. But WandaVision is here, guys. We got the first 2 episodes. Oh, I do wish the episodes were a bit longer, but you know, this satisfied me for now, because we haven't had any MCU in over a year. So even just this, like, a little less than an hour worth of WandaVision, it satisfied me, and I'm super happy with this. I love the unique style that they're going with for this show, and the differences between each sitcom and each decade every week. So I'm really excited for this. I am super hyped for WandaVision. But guys, let me know down in the comments below, what did you think about this premiere? What did you think about these episodes? Did you find any other little Easter eggs or references in here that you want to point out to me? Or all your theories for next week's episode and the rest of the season? I had a great time, and I can't wait to do this again next week. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.